My
phone
section
section
and here you.
You gotta be able to eat.
All right, so,
I'm just not reading, you can ask me questions.
well, why don't we do part of the meeting, and if Theo hasn't turned up, I'll try and call her. When we get
Yeah, we
closer.
we can let her in if she brings in.
Yeah, but we do, it would be good if she would join us and talk about water quality monitoring.
Yeah,
So,
but she's not here.
I know, but I talked to her earlier and she intended to be.
It might be sunny and beautiful down there too, you know?
Oh,
You guys are all set.
I think I may.
Thank you.
I just wanna take people that was going, I'll see if you did go off.
I will check the screen and if I see somebody.
It'll say allow or
Oh,
deny.
can you tell if somebody's in the waiting
Yeah,
room?
it's typically a little thing at the top, yeah.
Okay, that's your
You
job.
can see it here.
Yeah.
Right across.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't see the top part at all. I mean, it's
That's okay.
tiny little people. All right, I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:02. And welcome, Lene. I think what I'd like to do is just a quick adjustments to the agenda and approve the minutes and then hand it over to Lene. So that you don't have to wait through our whole meeting. As chances are, you won't find it scintillating. Oh, so, adjustments to the agenda, I have a few. Does anybody else have any?
Nope.
So, Leslie. Rachel will not be here. She's in the Bahamas. So we will not be doing the Gantt chart. But we could talk a little about the timeline and the feedback I would like about that. And then old business item C, the planetarium program art show apparently is not gonna happen, so we can defer that completely.
Table.
Right, whatever. And I put Atwood Lobster on just as a placeholder because the application for a permit popped up just as I was doing the agenda, and I didn't know if it was gonna have issues, but it doesn't seem to, or at least doesn't seem to yet, so. Pardon?
Permit for.
Expansion.
Expansion of their piers so they can handle bigger boats. And
Fixing the dam.
it's okay, glad you're here.
Leslie.
So,
There's another one we could, I don't know if you saw, in the memo that came through, there is also the oyster.
oh, Krista Tripp
Yeah,
wants to shuck
But
oyster.
it's not an issue, she's already there doing her thing, so I think she's just, doing the paperwork for what she's already doing.
Well, what I suggest on all these various permits that have conservation implications is if you see a problem, bring it up and we'll put it on the agenda. But if things seem to be going fine and not raising a problem, we won't need to.
I'm sorry, I missed just a little piece.
I'm sorry.
When I was introducing Leslie Delaney.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry, yes.
So what I'm saying is on these various permit applications, whether it's oysters or expanding Atwood's Pier, if it's not a problem, we just keep an eye on it. If something comes up that we think we should talk about, then it'll go on the agenda.
Well, there is going to be an information session, I think, or on Thursday, and I was planning to attend for the oysters. And I'm very much interested in understanding the operation. And a priori, I have absolutely no objection, on the contrary. But I'd like to verify a few things about, pollution, what are the risks essentially, and understand that. And also I'm kayaking in that area. So I want to know if there will be impediments to kayaking.
Okay.
Is this a new oyster operation? It's not Aphrodite? or-
No, not exactly.
No, not this one up, it's the one down actually, closer to the,
Trip is Aphrodite.
Yeah.
It is Aphrodite, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's different from that upper level operation, yeah.
Okay, and then finally on the Seafair invitation, As I told Catherine, as she struggled to open the attachments, I am sharing it only because the county working group shared it with me, and I don't want to be the only one who knows that we've been asked to do something. But I highly doubt we want to have a table at their event, which is what we're being asked for. So now you know, and I'm not withholding anything from you. Okay, so that's it for adjustments, review and approval of prior meeting minutes.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as
There-
presented.
There, I gave one tiny change to Linda,
I
and
incorporated it.
with that.
Yeah.
One
A
edit,
second.
all in favor,
Aye.
minutes approved. So, Lene, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me here. My name is Amanda. I manage the land conservation program at Georgia River Land Trust. So I look for new land to conserve, both easements and reserves. And then we also have a stewardship manager, Natalie Curry, who, once the land has been conserved, she monitors the easements and then
Okay.
creates management plans for the preserve. So we work really closely, but I do the kind of new land acquisition and.
Would you say her name again?
It's Natalie Curry.
Okay,
Sally knows her from the easement that you all have.
Yeah, I talked with her the other day.
Yeah. So I'm really just I started in this role in the fall after Annette Nagel, who all of you probably know, retired. I'm in the same role that she was in. So I've been reaching out to all of the conservation commissions and the different, not all towns, especially. The watershed is from Liberty to Cushing of the St. George River, so that's where we're focused on conserving land. So not every town has a conservation commission, but they might have a forestry or recreation commission like that. So been reaching out across the watershed, which is how I got to be here at your conservation commission meeting. And I've just been really introducing myself, like learning what your new projects are and seeing if we can help or collaborate. And when new projects come up, I want you guys to know who I am and I'll be able to come to you all. So that's really, I don't have a big ask or big agenda, but it's just really to introduce you all. And I didn't know how many of you would be here, so I didn't want to waste paper. So I printed out 2 maps, but you can kind of see, these are all of our public preserves across the watershed. So we have 21 preserves. Just I think 2 are in South Thomaston. The Brown Family Preserve is a pretty small, marshy one. It doesn't really have public access because it doesn't have a good right of way or parking lot. It is kind of intended to be forever wild. And then we have Riverview Hayfields, which is a big preserve that has.
well, and then you have,
Walking trail.
what is that, the overlook, the Westgate, it's off Westbrook.
Oh, the Westgate Headlands.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, yeah. Close to yeah, Westgate Headlands.
I think it must be in South Thomas.
That's not on the list.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's a pretty new, it would be near the bottom, because it was acquired in like 2020 or 2019.
Yeah, oh, there it is, Westgate Headlands Preserve, number 18. Yeah,
Yeah.
Annette led some of us on
Yes,
a
we walked.
visit down there before it was
Oh, nice.
accessible,
Nice.
before they'd done any work.
Mhm.
They just quiet. Yeah, I remember Catherine and I went, I don't remember who else. was.
Yeah, Sally.
Yeah,
Linda was with us.
Linda was with us.
But you're aware that we have been, buying this big acreage in the back here?
Yeah, and this is your forest preserve?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it. I looked at your meeting minutes from this
Okay.
year, and I saw, you're. working
So-
on it, but-
Do you want to explain where we are on this?
Oh, my.
Well, I can do it briefly. So,
Right.
Let's go right to page 7.
We, the town voted to acquire land that was offered by, the owners. And it's over 130 acres, and obviously it's one, they make one block, and the big plus was that they are abutting all that land down here that's already owned by the town, so that's like 100 acres already. So, and the big advantage is that it can become an anchor parcels because you have all the abutters all around it. One side is like 131 and the other side is 73 and Westbrook Road. So if all the owners, for some reason wanted to dedicate their back acreage, that's a place that could easily grow and
Yeah.
become quite interesting for recreation purposes, but also for, animals to have a safe space and, birds and, everything that's nature oriented. So, we're working diligently to fulfill the requirements from LMF and hopefully, a year from now, we'll get the check. And the beauty of it is that, it was offered at a bargain price.
Nice.
So we stand to get back the whole amount that we paid for it. So that would be, quite nice. And I'm glad you're here because obviously, I have hopes that we can open trails and do things. And, it will come at some point, it's like, how can you, we'll need all the help we can get, essentially. So how much can you give? And what kind? So that would be the questions.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, it does that. The previously owned land and the new land, if you put it together, it forms sort of like the northern boundary of like the largest unfragmented block of land on the entire peninsula. Yeah, and I would say from looking at the proportion of it to the rest of it, there's probably about 900 acres, maybe 800 acres in that area. And so now we have about maybe not quite a third of it is protected.
See,
Yeah.
the thing we realized as we are working on the grant application, really after purchasing and working on the purchase, which was one big lift, is that the way the land has been divided up among property owners, they all have these long skinny strips, makes me think of the Ile d'Orléans, and these long skinny strips running from 73 on one side, running from 131 on the other, and where they meet in the middle, that's the property line. And so you have this 100 acres, the town has 100 acres, you go down the road, Henry's got 100 acres backing up to it the other way. And everybody developed the road frontage, that's where the house is and the
Right.
barn and the field that you actually do something with. And the back, most of the owners have never even ventured into the back half of their property. So the wildlife, both plants and fauna have been left to their own devices. And the case we made to Land for Maine's Future is we can reach out to those landowners and say, how would you like to give an easement, which will get you a tax break, across the back half of your land, leave it undeveloped. In other words, don't do anything different than you've been doing.
Right.
And call it a noble community spirited gesture. So that's
Not
the
everybody
plan.
is open to that idea. We had one abutter who was adamant he didn't want it.
Yeah.
Yes, but then there were all the others.
Yeah,
So that's a very long range plan. First, we have to nail down the grant and get to work on developing access to the property, because what we've had to do is we're going to have to make a different road because the road to the property before went across private land, and the landowner said he was fine with one owner coming across with his hunting buddies, but he did not want the entire town of South Thomaston and all their friends and relations tromping through it. So where we've got to put the road, once upon a time, a very long time ago, might have been a road, but it sure isn't now. And so there's that access to work on, and then developing trails, and we certainly hope that's where Georges River will come in.
I mean,
And
Luke,
so on.
Yeah.
yeah, Luke, does these kind of things, and I know, I was just reading the email that came in the mailboxes today that he's organizing the crews already to
Yeah,
clean all the trails on your properties. But it's like, would you be open to maybe not help us, but at least guide us on how to operate and, how to rouse enthusiasm and, people to volunteer and so forth. So we will need help with planning, do
yeah,
we do section by section, or when are the best time to do it, So, I mean, it's all open essentially.
yeah, I do think he would be open to helping or advising. I don't wanna sign him up for,
Yeah.
something he doesn't know about, but. We do have a long history of working with towns on their town trails, and we are trying to get away from like creating town trails for towns, because we have 73 miles of trail that is mostly on, actually it's mostly not on our preserves, as part of the Georges Highland Path, which is, if you don't know, is the first, one of the founders of Georges River and one of the first, trails people working at Georges River. Dave Getchell had the vision to connect Thomaston to the top of the watershed in Front Headwaters and have this long walking trail. So we have large sections of that as part of the 73, and then we have probably 30 or from 20 to 30 miles on preserves, but so we're trying to move away from creating trails, but we do have the stew crew, and they meet every Thursday. And every once in a while, Luke will take them to a town trail, and we'll, dedicate a day to doing a town trail, usually some of the ones that we helped create and then kind of backed off maintaining, but we still do help towns.
I had done a couple of hikes with him, and
Nice.
chats, and he was full of good ideas and.
Yeah. Very smart.
Yeah, so, and then there is so this is the development part of the land, making it welcoming for people to enjoy nature and do recreational activities. But then there is also the aspect of the conservation itself and the conservation easement to make sure it stays protected forever. And I know Annette had mentioned like there was a fee to pay to George River Land Trust for that to happen. And she had quoted something like $10,000. So it's still around that.
Yeah, it's still around that, and that's because, so we have 56 easements. We were founded about 37 years ago, we have 56 easements. And every year Natalie has to walk every easement and make sure that someone isn't doing something they're not allowed to on the easement, like building, or they haven't transferred it and subdivided it. And each easement is different. We are trying to standardize them in the past couple of years, but really early on, those easements were just written, recorded, and then they permanently run with the deed to the land. So some of them are like very convoluted and intricate easements, for better or for worse, usually worse.
Yeah, I have a 3-ring notebook
Yeah.
full of the document.
Right, so imagine 56 different ones of those. We have one stewardship manager. We're actually hiring another co-trails and stewardship person right now. We're interviewing people, but all that to say, every year she has to monitor them and submit reports to the state of Maine. The IRS makes sure that they're monitored. And then we're part of like an alliance of land trusts that have standards. The standard is monitored every year. So it just takes a lot of time cumulatively, for forever, every single year. So that's why there's a fee to do it. It's really a stewardship fee is what we call it. And we try to invest part of those funds, like part of it takes the upfront cost of writing an easement, and Natalie will come and she would walk the land and she takes pictures and creates like a part of that notebook is probably the baseline is what we call it, where you see what the land looks like at the time of the easement so that if something changes what it was before. But then a large part of the money is invested, and you try to have a fund that can keep paying for going back to the property every year. And sometimes for easements, if someone like does want to do an amendment, then that's a whole
Mhm.
conversation and a huge time and legal investment, and then rarely, and you hope never, but occasionally someone is trying to do something that their easement doesn't let them do, and then it's one person doing that at a 56 is like a huge amount of time to try to figure out.
The easement is not something, I mean, obviously, we would be interested in this, but it's not something for us to decide, you know, it's like the whole town.
The town, yeah.
Well, yeah. Town money, yeah.
Yes, so,
Yeah.
Everything eventually goes before the town meeting.
yes.
Yep.
Mm,
Yeah, we're working on an easement with the town of St. George right now, at Old Woods Farm. I don't know if any of you know that,
Yeah, we do.
80-acre property. Yeah, so we're familiar with, they did a town vote and they appropriated, you know, stewardship funds for it, but, you know, it takes so many years too. But so you're looking to put an easement on the forest preserve in an
Well,
ideal world.
Maybe down the road, but
Down the road, no,
yeah,
no, that's
we
not
have
on-
enough on our plate just
Yeah.
getting through the due diligence for Land for Maine's future. That's the first.
Well, and currently,
next
the public and the political body in town is in favor of building this up.
Mhm.
And, so it doesn't feel like there's a lot of pressure right now to get a legal easement placed on the property, so the town can't change its mind at this point.
Right.
So,
Where you just got it.
Yeah.
And in order to get the Land for Maine's future grant, that we will have to have an agreement with them, which includes preserving it.
Mhm.
So that there'll be some protection. And there is also, first of all, in the deed for most of the property we just bought, the seller insisted that it be protected, and that is in the deed. And so, in order not to have just 10 acres that wasn't subject to that, last year at annual town meeting, the town voted to apply those same restrictions to the 10 acres from a second seller. So it's all covered by legal requirements right now that it not, you know, that it remain.
Oh, this is the Pratt.
Oh, is it Theo?
Oh, Theo.
So
Oh,
is she
yeah.
trying to get in?
Yeah, look, view, so can you like let
Okay,
them
so
in?
there's. You see.
They're working on it.
I'm not sure.
All right.
Yeah, they're.
Don't do anything you'll regret having to come in.
Yeah, they'll let you in. They're working on it.
Two people answered the waiting room, you.
When I said that's the Pratts calling, everybody suddenly goes, oh, yeah, okay.
Admit.
Yeah, we weren't paying attention. We were
So you
not
can
paying
get a call in.
we were paying attention to ourselves. So.
You're on Zoom.
All right, Theo, we don't see you, but we
Oh, Nancy.
see that you're, oh, did Nancy get?
Yeah, Nancy's in.
Oh, all right. Good.
They have to do something themselves to get the picture up.
Yeah. Did you guys know how to get your picture on?
It's their camera.
As long as we can hear them.
Well, they're both muted, so we can't do that either.
But they can hear us.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nancy's unmuted.
Is there any chance you can put your camera on? Yes.
No, I finally got in. Thank you.
Now. Theo?
Are you with us? We're waiting for Theo.
And while we're waiting, you mentioned a trail that goes from Thomason to the headwaters of the St. George?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's there now?
Yeah.
Completely?
no, not, it's in different
Okay, all right,
sections.
all right.
We're trying to connect.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
rest
all right.
of the vision. There's like 10-mile sections, especially up near like Searsmont region, and
So-
Dragon Mountain.
All right,
Um,
yeah, less landowners, so longer sections, right?
It doesn't go, connected yet.
no, in fact, here, I'll send you all.
Yeah,
I
I'd love
thought,
to.
I thought the
Oh.
last map I got
Okay.
had it connected. Every once in a while, they send very interesting maps and things.
It is not fully.
So there's
connected.
solid and dotted lines, sort of.
Well, so the interesting thing is it could go a lot of routes in between, you know, the big
Oh,
sections that
okay.
we have. So it depends on where landowners get interested. A lot of it is
Mm,
Dave Getchell started just, if the landowner said yes, he would start building it. So they're all handshake agreements.
Yeah.
None of them are easements, or.
How many years ago was that? Cause my husband and I went to a meeting in Union with Dave Getchell,
Uh-huh,
when none of this existed yet, and he was like they do in England, they have all those trails
Yeah.
just by getting permission
Yeah.
to cross.
yeah.
And,
Well, the land trust was started in 87 and he
But,
was, so definitely more than 30 years ago, more than 35 years ago. He's been working on
it was a long time ago. yeah.
forever, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really cool idea. And we do have another like 7 miles through the Rockland Bog and the Thomaston Town Forest, like all of that.
And the
is-
rock and bog thing is quite new.
Yeah, that was 2023, so that was a huge, big addition to it, but yeah, they're in
oh, good.
kind of big disjointed
Feels with us.
sections, right now, but I could show you the current.
That's the-
Not everybody,
Copy of that deal. See those eyes.
some Kilroy.
You know, it's like, this is crazy, but can you
There
hear
you
me?
are now. There you are.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Here's the thing, I've been waiting outside for somebody to let me into the meeting and going absolutely mad. I had to finally,
We were engaged in good conversation and forgot to check.
okay,
So
so I'm gonna
apologize.
try to close this screen so I can see whoever it is in the middle. And if you lose me, oh, okay, oh, hi. Okay, great.
You found us?
Yes, I did. We got to do this better
Okay.
next time. It's so frustrating. Yes, hello, and did I miss anything important?
Well, we have with us today, Lene Peterson from Georges River Land Trust, and we've been filling each other in on what we've been doing with Forest Preserve and what the Land Trust is doing with the various properties that they manage.
Yeah, Theo, I could just introduce myself, so I'll come up on the camera
Hi.
briefly. Hi, and Nancy, hi too. Yeah, I manage the land conservation program at Georges River. And the main highlight is that I've been going to different conservation commissions and meeting people and updating them on what we're doing and seeing what you all are doing with your projects and hopefully seeing how we can work together.
She's Annette's replacement.
That is also true. I'm in the same role as Annette, so kind of retracing a lot of her footsteps in the fencing across the water.
Do you have any questions? Theo?
Not yet. Thank you.
Oh, Nancy, okay, good.
Okay,
All right.
so, is that about it?
Yeah, that was a good update on the forest preserve. So were you all awarded the LMF grant in the most recent round?
Yeah,
In the
like
twenty
last May.
24,
Okay.
you get a provisional award. And then they hold it over your head and say there are the following hoops you must jump through.
Yeah.
And yes, and the first hoop one of the first hoops that we hit, we thought we were ready to go for title insurance. We are nowhere near ready, it turns out,
Mm.
because, and the lawyer had to explain this to us. We're just getting title insurance on the preserve. And it's right next, it adjoins land the town already owns. But we're going to have to give ourselves an easement over the town land to the preserve,
Mm.
because viewed alone, it's landlocked. But we'd never separate it, we say, but she says never's a long time. So we've had to back up, get the surveyor back, have him survey, and we'll be meeting with him Friday to actually
Proposed corridor.
pick the
Yeah.
corridor
Right.
in the area that he surveyed. But then I just, as I was putting together this timeline that I sent all of you, it became clear that in order to get title insurance, you need to have a value on the property, which means we'll need an appraisal before the title
Well,
insurance
that's gotta come
and,
first.
right, and I'm not sure, I'm going to ask Laura Graham at Land for Maine's Future, but I think we may also need to do the environmental hazard assessment before, because how do you know what the land is worth if you don't know if there's toxics on it? So it's sort of like, you have to do A before can you do B, but you have to do C before you can, et cetera.
Yeah, the lawyer can get everything in place and then it will be the matter of putting the valuation number, so, you know.
Well, oh, and also we'll have to have a town meeting to approve giving
Yes.
ourselves the easement.
So that's in June, so, but it's like, in a sense, it may push us to move faster.
Well, and I think it's about to fall into place.
Yes, so,
Optimistically, I
instead of
say.
waiting another year, we may well be done by.
I think we
by-
might.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think we might.
And
Which is pretty good speed for municipal work,
we also have, like, we have gotten title insurance without an appraisal.
But how do they
Yeah.
value it?
We've used like the price that it was last sold at.
Well, we don't want to do that because we got a bargain sale at a
No.
quarter the value.
Right, so yeah, you might.
Yeah, yeah, we've got to have the full value in order to get our
And
money.
unless we get a serious value, we won't get our grant.
Right.
I mean, they are all nested.
I mean, one way of getting a value is you look at how much everybody else pays for an acre of
Yeah, the comps.
backwood lot,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
could do the comps and, so.
Yes,
yeah,
but we've got to have somebody with, like
You've
an
gotta have a-
official
You gotta have. the-
title to their name.
The assumption being the lawyer knows what we gotta do, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you should ask if you need a full appraisal with
Yeah.
your lawyer, or if you could use even the town's
The
assessed value or
assessment.
Yeah.
something.
Because the
Well,
assessment would
possibly.
work, I mean, the assessment was high enough.
Because it's
Uh,
not really tied to
It's tricky.
the LMF award, the title insurance, not necessarily.
Well, I'm not sure what title insurance,
It's for the
Gets
property,
us.
who owns the property, it's like, it's not so much based on the value
Yeah.
is used to price how much it's going to charge.
Yeah.
But, the title insurance is all exclusively about ownership.
well,
Right.
the point of insuring title. From the point of view of the title insurance company is, if something goes wrong. And it turns out there's a problem with your ownership and we'll have to pay you. They're not gonna pay us more than they decided it was worth. So we wanna be sure that not that we
leave it
think
to the
there's a
lawyer.
problem.
But again, yeah, they looked at the history and so forth, and they feel fairly confident that nobody's going to come up and contest now that we have paid for it.
Yes.
And then, it seems it's in the hands of the town. I mean, I think the lawyer, again, she's from here, she's accustomed to doing such things, so, if she's confident that it can go through, I'm not gonna raise any objection to it.
Well, we have to do both anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we had to get an appraisal firm to come up with a value when we did Pleasant Island, when we gave them an easement on Pleasant Island.
Uh-huh.
And that was the most expensive thing, part of the deal, because I think the lawyer donated her time.
Hmm.
Well, we're getting a real deal from the lawyer, and Catherine, you got a price from an appraiser. For
Yes. so-
6,500, but that's not shockingly high.
Yes,
It's
but
lower
that
than George's River estimated.
Knowing that, then actually, if we use that argument, we are back in, okay, we need to get on these people's schedule.
Oh, yes, we
You
do.
know,
Yes, we
so-
do.
That might be an action item that we need to recontact them to see how quickly they can.
At least you don't have to get them a ride to an island.
Oh, darn.
I can send you all we have a list of appraisers that.
We got it already, I
Yes.
think, yeah.
Okay, well, 6,500 sounds, for the appraisal you're saying?
Mhm.
Because it's not, I mean, I think we are looking for a beefier kind of appraisal, aren't we, or not?
I'm sorry, what?
Are we going to for the yellow book appraisal?
Oh, no, that makes no sense.
Hmm.
An appraisal ages out very quickly. And so if we're not going for a federal grant, which
Yeah,
we are not,
and they are not available anyway.
Right.
right, no,
65 just seems high. for-
really?
Yeah.
All
Well,
right,
when I asked before, your not Annette, but Marie, she came back with 8,000.
With
For a
what?
yellow book, that would.
No,
make
no, no.
sense, But
For a,
for,
no,
yeah,
for
I'm
a. Oh, I'm not sure whether she was thinking it was Yellow Book,
yeah,
but it was, that would have been bizarre. But,
I could at least. send you
whatever,
this.
whatever she was thinking, she said she thought it would be about 8,000, so I was happy to see 6,500. But we can ask around some more.
But you think that's high?
It sounds high.
well, overall, being, spend as little as you have to meet the regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send you lists. You could call, there, a lot of them are local and they
Okay.
will probably give you, they would give you a quote without.
Yes.
Happy to get comparisons.
The quote I had obtained was from Fred Buckland, and he's based, in Appleton.
Yeah.
So he quoted 6,500, and that said it would take a couple weeks once he started.
Yeah.
And, his little star of claim to fame was that he was actually a charter member of the LMF group, when they started forming that group and giving out grants. So he was part of it. So he knows, exactly what kind of appraisal is needed.
Mhm.
But, if we can talk to other people who have done appraisals for LMF, and if they are a few $1,000s cheaper.
Well, if it's that much less, we have to.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But, I had called and nobody was answering. I mean, Mike, I had called like 3 or 4 places and he was the only one who got back to me, so.
So very familiar territory, it's like you were saying, in order to do A, you've got to understand B, but you can't get A without C, and you need C to get B. And
That's right.
I mean, that's where we are right now, but it's the thicket we're in.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that, we're really lucky, is that the select board is really very supportive of what we're trying to do, and it has a lot to do with, members of this board who put in a tremendous amount of work. There's a 70% chance that we actually will develop that into public use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say 100%.
Wow.
One hopes, yeah.
Things have changed in the last
No.
year or so. I find it hard to believe anything at 100% anymore.
All right, so I'm mindful of the time and that there are other things we've got to get to, so.
Yeah, please. And I don't mind staying and just hearing the.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And that's,
Okay, so I can race through a few of these quite quickly. On the forester's contract, after our last meeting, I went to the next select board meeting and I had given them Marin's scope of work proposal to us, but I didn't get her contract until like within an hour of the select board meeting. So I told them I'd received it and I sent it to them the next day without having had much chance to look at it myself. Jeff Northgraves on the select board took issue with her liability provision. And I said, okay, fine, would you guys please work it out with her? And then everything, stopped dead for a month. Last night they met and I made sure to go and made sure that they put it on the agenda just to designate somebody to negotiate with Marin and sort this out, which they have done. And Jeff will be talking to her. And so then we'll have to wait at least until the next select board meeting, but by then, hopefully we'll have a contract. And I told Marin where things stood and she's fine with that and she's fine with what Jeff wants, so should be fine.
Excellent.
And we had asked her to put us on her calendar, so did she mention anything?
I didn't talk about timing, but we were talking summer, weren't we?
I think, yeah, I mean, like clearly coming up, you know.
But she had a bunch of stuff already scheduled, so.
Yes, but that's why we had asked her to put us in there so
Right.
that,
Well, I think she has,
Yeah.
but I did not talk schedule with her.
okay,
But we should have a contract in time for her to start when she planned to.
yeah.
And then on the easement survey, as I said, we'll be meeting Friday. The working group, which is me, Catherine and Sally, with John Spear and the surveyor, and we will have to decide on exactly where on the area he surveyed we put the, and then he'll have to go back to the drawing board and make that happen.
Right.
I will be sure to bring to that meeting the criteria for LMF and for our state sponsor, which is Bureau of Parks and Lands. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Parks and Recreation, whatever. And hopefully then we can have a special town meeting, maybe not wait till June, maybe it'll always be June by then, whatever.
Fair chance.
June is getting
But
here.
there is a mention of 50 feet wide, and here 50 feet to me seems very, very wide.
I agree. No, I said
And,
that
you
as
know, I
well.
would conceive of that if you were wanted to do like a 2-lane highway at least, but not, you know, we're a small town and one lane works fine, so.
That is the point that I think we should make.
But there's no reason not to make it good and wide while you're doing it.
Well-
Yeah, but
Well,
not
it's not-
50, we would have to cut a lot of trees.
Oh,
to
no,
make it-
you don't have to clear it.
You just have to
You just have
define it
to have it.
on a map.
Okay. Oh, yeah, all right, so that's. a
We
good
can
point.
discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the
but yeah.
reasons for a 50-foot wide corridor is we're going through, and if you want to put a trail or road in and you run into this gigantic boulder, you need to go around it. But,
Okay.
Or a tree you
Stuff like
want to
that.
save.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's the key.
Or-
So
Okay.
we grant 50 feet, but we may.
You've got
put a
elbow
passage
room.
on the.
Yeah.
And it's just on paper
Yeah,
Yeah,
and has no, the rubber does not hit the road, so to speak, unless it ever was treated as a separate property, which we have no intention of ever doing.
right.
Now, this is all just
In order to,
to
Yeah.
meet a legal requirement that it not be landlocked. Right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
the eyes done. And
Okay.
anything else they want.
Careful.
yeah, well, everything they want is a result of a problem they had in the
I'm
past.
sure.
All right, so, on the timeline and fundraising, we do need to get to that, but I think
Wait
it's
till,
more important to get to Earth Day cleanup and to Theo's report on water quality monitoring. So,
Want to do Theo first, or?
Theo, would you like to go first?
Oh, I'd be delighted. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, can you
turn it up a little bit.
or turn up your volume? I don't know, is it our volume or her volume?
I'm not sure. I'm having a hard time.
But it's hard to hear you.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm gonna move.
Oh, that's better.
Okay, good. I was too far away, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we've been working on well, first of all, let me just give you an overview. I know I've done it before, but just so you understand what it is. This is a program of the Department of Environmental Protection of the state. And it's a volunteer effort, which is made all over the state, where people go out and it's focusing on water bodies, because that's, our water quality is extremely important. And so the way it works is this, the state gives us meters, and the meter is set to register salinity, dissolved oxygen, water temperature, and so on. The readings have to, well, first the meter is a handheld device on a long cord that goes to a readout screen. So the sampling team needs to be ideally 3 people. one person, I call it that person the monkey, who's the one that goes down a bank if that's necessary. Actually, it's not necessary in most places, and actually puts the meter in the water. Then there's the person that holds the cord and the recording device. So you've got the monkey down on the bank with a probe. There's a long cord that comes to the person who is reading the data, and that person gives the data to the person who's recording it. And we have prescribed sheets from the state, this is the data that they want. And so we also look at the areas and we what's going on there, do we see evidence of wildlife? Obviously on the town dock, you look at the quality, optically at the quality of the water. And as you go down Dublin Road, there's what we call Ballyhack Cove is the farthest point. Does everybody know where Ballyhack Cove is? It's that dip when you're on your way to the airport and you're going down Dublin Road, and there's a very low point, and then you go back and you get to the other road. That's the last one. So basically it's something that we have to do it 1 hour after high tide. So I've been through the calendar, the tide calendar, not our calendar, to see when we can do that. And obviously it has to be at a time during the day where people are willing to go out and do this work. So I do now have the dates. The first one would be June 5th, and it would be at 7:44 a.m. So what the team would do is show up and do this work. It usually takes an hour and a half. And for those people who have done it before, DEP would do a quick refresher. And the people who've never done it before will get a 1.5 hour presentation from DEP about how to use the meters, what the data means, and so on. So it's a really interesting thing to do. It's a great thing to do because our community is sort of centered around the Westgate River, and knowing what's going on with it, I think, is critically important to all of us. So I'm here basically to let you know you are now officially, the Conservation Commission is officially the sponsor. There's no requirements. I think we're going to be fine for equipment. DEP usually provides the probe. We've got some minimal supplies. We print our own data sheets and so on, but that's not a lot of expense. And the Conservation Commission has generously put $50 in your budget, for these kinds of supplies, and we thank you very much for that. And I'd love to take questions if anybody has any.
Well, so you didn't mention the other part, which is taking water samples for bacteria.
Yeah, that's something that hasn't been done in the past, and it would be really, really wonderful to do it.
I thought you had been doing it.
No, it's been, all right, I'm sorry. Let me start over. It was being done by the Thomaston Pollution Control Lab. And they had a wonderful person who, John Fancy was the man running the lab. He was awesome. He, provided supplies for us. He did the processing of the samples and everything else. But John has been rightfully so kicked up the ladder in Thomaston. So now there is a lab guy there who is did it for us last year, and I wasn't really comfortable with the results. If we want to have it tested, there's a lab in Rockland, but they charge. So the next step is to go and talk to the people in Rockland and see what the deal might be for them to process the water samples. But that's for bacteria. And that's kind of not the basic thing. That's bacteria is something I think we really want to know about. And that's where the water samples come in. And that's what you need a lab for, is to sample, test these samples for bacteria.
Right,
So,
and we've got money in the budget if we need to pay a lab.
right.
Or well,
pending.
money is proposed for the budget. Budget committee meetings are next week and town meeting is in June, but presumably they will all go along with it.
Yeah, at this point, though, we don't have a set figure from the lab in
Yes,
Rockland.
well, we do. I called
You
the
did?
lab and
Okay,
asked what they
alright,
charge,
okay,
and that's
alright.
what I based what I asked
Yeah,
for.
good, good.
And did they give it to you?
Yeah,
What was it?
I can't remember. I don't have the number, but
About 16?
But when I presented the proposal to the select board, they said it made sense to them
Right,
and they gave us full
Yeah.
funding based on the number the lab gave us.
yeah, so they're,
So it's, you know,
they approved it now, the budget.
they approved
committee.
it,
Okay,
Conservation Commission recommended, they approved. It's gonna be presented to the budget committee. I would be floored if the budget committee had a problem with it. And then we go to town meeting and I would again be floored if they had a problem.
Right. Cool.
I mean, actually, we still disappear in the rounding of the town budget.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
all right.
So-
Once we're underway, we'll set up training programs. And the state will come in and actually do that. They'll bring in the equipment, they'll show people how to use it. And then they leave it with us and we sample 8 times, I think I said that, over the course of 4 months. So it's not like, every week or anything. It's based on tides.
Well,
but
it's
only
it's 8 times a summer.
8 times this summer. And you don't have to sign up for all 8 if you're a volunteer.
Yeah, there, Theo, I would like to ask do you have all the dates?
Yes, I do. And I do.
Well, I
have
think
all
it
the
would be useful to put those out so that when we're asking for volunteers, people can compare them to their summer schedule and say, oh, yeah, I think I could do that, or I can do 2 months of it, or whatever.
Well, that's what we want. And let me just tell you that we start in June and those 2 dates are Thursday, the 5th and Monday, the 23rd. And we can only do Monday through Thursday because of the lab component. Labs obviously aren't open and water samples that we take, we have to get to the lab within 6 hours. Because we're talking about bacteria and they're not going to survive in a bag of water for, a couple of days.
So it might be, and you've already done your tie charts, but I believe the Rockland lab is open Fridays and the Thomaston lab wasn't, so that might give us a little more flexibility, but if you've already picked dates, it's not a big deal.
I haven't, there doesn't seem to, I've got 2 in June. I just did this yesterday. And July's fine. They're roughly 2 weeks apart. We've got a problem in August. I haven't been able to figure out a good date in August, but if we're doing it with a lab who will work with us, then that would be terrific. But first we have to get there, I can go and talk to the lab director and we can work that out.
And Thomaston might still be an option, but you're not as comfortable with the quality of their work.
Exactly.
all right,
Well, no point doing this and not getting good results.
I agree. The other data that we take, for example, the reason we sample always 1 hour after high tide is there's data going back for, I'm going to say 6 years. Annette Nagel and Vivian Newman were the ones who started this project. And they brought me in and, and I ended up, Vivian, of course, sadly moved out of South Thomaston and Annette, stepped away from it, but and that's when other volunteers came in. And so we kept it going. I mean, since we picked it up, we've been sampling every year.
Right. Okay, any questions? Anybody have any other questions?
Theo,
Yes.
has the state been sending you the results? Do we have those trends over time?
The state actually does publish it. And if you go on the state's website, to their, what do they call it? The Department of Environmental Protection is actually the agency that this data goes to. They were just proud to announce that they had finally published the data from 2023. So there is data you can look at. You can see, you know, what kind of data it is and how it looks. They do a nice job. There's a graph that they show, you know, and compare the years and so on. So yes, I really encourage you to go on the DEP website.
Can you send us the link?
I'll do that, absolutely. It would be good for me to refresh myself in doing it too.
In your list of dates,
Yes,
Theo,
yes.
in the list of dates that you need people,
Well, every date, yes, we do, and I. I'd
yeah,
like
but
to
you've
have
got to send us the list of dates so that maybe if we can think of somebody, we could ask them if they could
It'll
do
have
this.
to run over. That's just
Yeah,
how-
that's exactly what'll happen.
She's going to do.
We need dates and time of day because somebody may
God,
not
I
be
already-
available at 7 in the morning.
I already have all that. And,
Okay, well,
um,
you just send it to us.
I'm going to, I'll set it up and I'll
Okay.
send the list. And also, you know, and I can read it to you, but that's probably, I'll circulate the list of dates. How about that? I can tell you that in
Great.
June, the 2 dates are the 5th and the 23rd.
Got that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everybody good with that?
Where's the, yeah.
Sally, did you say something? You okay? Okay. Cleanup day. I think the one thing I'd like to talk about is, Linda, you brought your flyer to share, and I think this is. Yes.
Yeah.
No, no.
This
No,
is
no,
a
no.
flyer for the roadside.
Okay, here,
Oh.
we're-
Oh. Another subject.
So I was mystified, Catherine, when you said something about telling people to come to Guilford Butler, but this is where it was. And I hadn't looked at it. Are there not? We can share.
Yeah.
So this is not set in stone, and I may do some more tweaking, but Catherine, you were saying that talking about captains or co-captains sounds entirely too businesslike or something. So we can modify that. All I'm hoping for is a person for each neighborhood that we can communicate with and get supplies to and have them tell us where to send a truck. That's all it's not a, you know, it's not military.
Ant bait,
What's up?
one of those ant baits.
Oh,
We were talking about them at the select board meeting. I just left it on in the background.
Oh.
The whole meeting. And they were talking about the problems that we have with ants.
oh, goody.
I hope Terry watches that dog of hers.
Oh,
I almost says,
yeah.
I grabbed her.
Right. I think-
crap out of
Sponsor.
my buddy's mouth one time.
No.
I'm just, you know.
I was in a
They're
house.
complaining
ant
about
trap.
I think, to me, there are way too many words on there. When you do a poster, you want bullet points, you know, so that.
I have
Yeah.
no ownership of this at all.
So I can change this, it's just a prototype, so,
What are we trying to say? You know, I don't have time
We're-
to read all
I
this.
think we're mainly saying, here's the date. We sure would like volunteers and we would like to expand into a lot of your neighborhoods. And if you want to be part of this in your neighborhood, we will come to you.
So, yeah, so I would just put the name, you know, of the streets and roads we have. And then, do another line, yours with a question mark, so that
Do
people
you want to
know.
work with Linda on redoing it?
No, and, but that's like.
Well said.
It may not happen then.
Where are we going to put it?
Well, the usual places posters go up.
Usually that's what I.
We
take care
welcome
of it.
co-captain, so what do you want them,
Look, let's just say things you've got issues with and not,
Yeah, it's like,
Spend the next half hour
this is to
trying to-
inform people, so we have the date, we have the time.
And contact.
And then, the contact info, so here, this is intended to have people contact you? Or do you want them to have all the information already and be ready on the day of?
I think it might get a little confusing if we have these different places to pick them up. You'd have to have like, where would you pick it up on Grissom, or where would you pick it up?
Yeah, so,
I'm sorry,
I mean,
pick what
as
up?
it is now, everyone comes to Gilbert Butler and brings all their trash to the river.
And that means that lots of neighborhoods say, forget it, I'm not hauling my trash to Guilford Butler, I'll just, if
You
I've
understand.
got it in my truck, I'll just keep going to the transfer station, which is fine.
Too.
But if there are people who don't have a truck,
Yeah,
would like us to send a truck to them,
yeah. So we'd have to have one
So-
person to contact.
right, so that's all I'm hoping for is that if, like on Spruce Head,
Yeah.
if somebody, if a bunch of neighbors want to do it, just have
Yeah.
somebody that
Maybe
we
you
can
just say, if
communicate
you
with.
want your trash picked up on that day, call this number or do
or
something.
like, you just decide on a few drop-off
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah,
One on Waterman's Beach Road, one on Spruce Head, and if people clean on Spruce Head, they can drop off the bag somewhere on Spruce Head.
yeah.
Like, and you're from
Okay.
there, so you know all the names,
Yeah,
that people will know what you mean.
Yeah,
With just a short name,
Yeah.
so clean up spots, drop off spots for the bags.
yeah.
Well, I don't think we need to put all that on the
No,
poster.
I don't either. But I also think maybe rather than a spot,
Well,
if you just leave it, I mean, it would be easier, because I'm usually the one that has the truck that picks them all up. If it's just like, it's all out there, I'll just come on and pick it, I don't want it going down dirt roads and saying,
Yeah.
who's got the rubbish?
Or
Just put it on, even on
side
Westbrook,
of the road.
that's what we did last on
Yeah.
Westbrook, we just kept and then
Yeah, just kept going along.
just picked it up,
Yeah.
so it doesn't really have to have a spot, accessible
so
spot.
then leave on the main road,
Yeah,
leave
exactly,
the bag, and that's,
exactly,
everybody would know that.
or
But
preferably bring it to
Tell us
us
that
if you
you've done
can.
that, so we'll know to go look
Yeah.
for it.
Preferably to bring it to Guilford Butler, if not, just leave it
Right.
out, but I'd have to have what roads,
Are
we
volunteers,
can't do every single road.
That's why you have to say
No.
main road.
There won't be,
Yeah, yeah. be subject
that
to
hopefully there'll be
31.1.
Westbrook
Kind of.
and Buttermilk,
Yeah, it's always
and,
buttermilk, the buttermilk's like a
Island
treasure trove
Road,
of rubbish.
right, Island Road, and
I'm
if you're
going
gonna
to
do Dublin,
you don't have to come to Dublin, I'll bring the trash
Okay.
to Big Guilford Butler.
Good.
But there was
Okay.
whole stretches of 73 with lots of stuff on the sides of the road
Right.
that we're not talking about at
What,
all.
like,
Yeah.
well, what I'm
in
proposing,
Thomaston, you mean? Like
I have
Thomaston, where Hoagie's used to be, that area you're talking about, 73? That's
Thomaston?
part of us? What part are you talking about?
Well, between,
Town hall,
between Spruce Head Village
town office, yeah.
and the town office, there's a long stretch of 73.
So what I'm doing
Yes,
is reaching out to the Lions Club and the fire departments and seeing if they have folks who would participate, particularly on, I'd rather have nice burly firemen dealing with the roads where the traffic's heavy,
Hmm.
rather than little old ladies.
It seems like in this town of lobster fishermen, we would have
Yes.
more available pickup trucks.
Well,
but they're kind of the worst
and,
offenders sometimes. you
They
know?
have offended.
and therefore
why
they
they are
absolutely.
I know, I
Well,
agree.
John is
You're being
going to
recorded.
be reaching out to the fishermen, right?
I'm gonna be reaching through Sally.
Yeah.
I disagree
Whatever
with you
works.
entirely.
I think it's a little wordy with the, currently we have volunteer neighborhood captains who are done.
No, we're not gonna do all that. We're just gonna say it's on this day. If you'd like your neighborhood included, get in touch with us
Mhm.
and we can work with you.
Right, it Is anybody accepting responsibility to daily check the Conservation Commission's email?
We all get it.
Well, this is the one it gets distributed.
You.
Okay, all right, all right.
To us all.
Yeah, all right,
You send the, yeah, they send the.
That's the
group name and
beauty
all
of
that.
this.
yeah,
So I'm gonna revamp this and I'm gonna make bullets and I'm gonna make it a lot less wordy.
Yeah,
okay.
great.
And
Because it
then,
will be easier to grasp as if you get that.
and then I will distribute it via the social, well, the media that we typically use and also post it
Yeah.
at the gig.
Let us have one more look at it, I think, because there's, well,
I don't know.
you think it's okay? I'm just hearing so many different views that, up to you.
Catherine knows.
I will let
Up to you.
the transfer station know.
And I'm also
Proofreading
hoping that
municipal
between the
projects.
firemen and the Lions Club and the fishermen, we can have use of more than one pickup truck.
My little truck doesn't do it.
Well, your little truck does a lot, but could you use some help?
I'm joking, I know.
You have a truck, Henry?
No,
No.
no, I gotta say on purpose.
It's already on the listserv.
I had one for years,
This
but I
already
know what they.
Yeah,
whatever that.
The only thing that's gone on the listserv is my
This is the
message,
first-
not the flyer.
Part of my life,
But
I'm
yeah.
wondering if,
I don't.
You could
this is
add
part of
into
my
that.
life.
Right,
trucks needed.
We always had
Oh, we did.
a truck.
yeah.
It was in it, but,
I just got
and a
that.
truck-
but my
Yeah,
experience
they
is
didn't
that
cost
you don't
$60,000 then.
get- You have to reach out.
Yeah, no, I know, I heard.
All right, so,
We good?
just wondering if anything else here won't wait. I don't think so. You could just, defer the rest, postpone whatever, or deep six, as the case may be.
That's the case, maybe.
All right? Anything else anybody needs to bring up?
Sally.
Hearing none.
Okay. All right, here goes.
Yeah.
Without objection, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I,
You were right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going.
want to keep that? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was in the back.
Oh, no, no.
I got plenty.
Like that.
I can't resist.
Thank you,
that.
Bob. Bye.
I mean, you asked me, but goodness.
Well, I get all the stuff in the mail, putting it on the side, you know, I'm always writing notes. to myself. I'm forgetting to look at it.
There is that.
CEO, are you ever coming back to South Thomaston?
Good question. I'll be back June, I'll be back the beginning of June.
My great granddaughter was knocking on my door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, she expects you to be home at all times.
When a 3.5-year-old knocks on the door, you're supposed to.
Henry, I have something for you.
All right, I'm gonna close up. Bye, I'm like closing up everything.
How was your soap?
Oh.